Adrian Newey, the legendary designer behind Aston Martin's radical AMR26, has just revealed a major disadvantage inherent in the team's 2026 development program. While the car itself has stunned the paddock with its aggressive design, Newi has flagged a fundamental limitation in their simulation tools that could significantly hamper their ability to optimize the car and keep pace in the ferocious development war. This admission provides a fascinating and slightly worrying glimpse into the challenges that even the sport's greatest designer must overcome, proving that a brilliant concept is only as good as the tools used to refine it. Speaking about the development of the AMR26, Newi highlighted a critical weakness in their driver-in-the-loop (DIL) simulator. He explained that while their simulation is excellent for assessing aerodynamic changes and chassis dynamics, it currently lacks the sophistication to accurately model the car's new, more complex tires and the intricate behavior of the 2026 power unit's energy deployment. This is a huge problem. The DIL simulator is one of the most critical tools in modern F1, allowing the drivers to test new setups and components virtually before they are ever manufactured. If the simulator's tire and engine models are not accurate, the feedback the driver gives is based on a flawed reality. To understand why this is such a major disadvantage, we need to break down the two problem areas. First, the tires. The 2026 regulations have introduced new, narrower tires with a different construction. How a tire heats up, how it degrades, and how its grip level changes over a stint are incredibly complex variables. A good simulator model allows the team to predict tire behavior with high accuracy, enabling them to optimize setups for qualifying and the race. Newi's admission suggests that Aston Martin's simulator is currently struggling to replicate this, meaning they are flying blind to some extent. They can't be certain if a setup change that works in the simulator will have the same effect on the real tires on track. This makes it much harder to find the perfect setup and could lead to them making poor strategic decisions on race weekends. Second, and perhaps more critically, is the power unit model. The 2026 engines, with their 50-50 power split and lack of an MGU-H, rely heavily on complex software to manage energy harvesting and deployment. The driver must use various settings on the steering wheel to control how the car harvests energy under braking and deploys it on corner exit. An accurate simulator model is essential for the driver to practice these techniques and for the engineers to develop the most efficient energy management strategies. Newi's comments imply that their simulator cannot yet replicate the nuanced, non-linear way the Honda power unit delivers its electrical power. This means Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll cannot effectively practice their energy management, a skill that will be absolutely critical for both one-lap pace and race strategy. It's a significant handicap that puts them on the back foot compared to works teams like Mercedes and Ferrari, who have likely had years to refine their integrated simulator models. Let's break down the real-world consequences of this simulation gap. During a typical race weekend, a team will run hundreds of simulations overnight to prepare for the next day. For qualifying, they simulate different engine modes, tire preparation strategies, and wing-level trade-offs to find the optimal one-lap setup. For the race, they simulate countless strategy variations based on tire degradation models. If Aston Martin's tire and power unit models are inaccurate, the output of all these simulations becomes unreliable. Imagine the team runs a simulation that suggests a one-stop strategy is the fastest way to complete the race. They commit to this strategy, but because their tire degradation model was too optimistic, the real-world tires begin to fall apart 10 laps earlier than predicted. The driver is forced into an unscheduled second pit stop, completely destroying their race. This is the kind of catastrophic error that can result from a poor correlation between the virtual and real worlds. Similarly, if the power unit model in the simulator doesn't accurately replicate the way the battery depletes or the turbo lags, the driver's practice is compromised. Fernando Alonso might spend hours in the simulator perfecting a specific energy deployment map, only to find that in the real car, that same map causes unexpected power cuts or drivability issues. This erodes trust between the driver and the engineering team and makes it impossible to fine-tune the car to the absolute limit. But before we analyze how Aston Martin plans to overcome this, if you're serious about understanding the engineering war that defines modern F1, this is the time to subscribe. We're not just reporting the news, we're explaining the why behind it. Hit that subscribe button to get the expert-level detail that separates the casual fan from the true insider. This disadvantage in simulation makes Aston Martin's track time at the upcoming Bahrain test even more critical. While other teams can rely on their simulators to do a lot of the heavy lifting, Aston Martin will have to use precious on-track running to gather the data needed to improve their models. This means they will likely have to dedicate entire sessions to doing repetitive, data-gathering runs focused on tyre behavior and energy deployment, while their rivals may be able to move on to more performance-oriented work. It's a classic F1 scenario. You can either spend your time developing the car or developing your tools. Newi's admission suggests Aston Martin is forced to spend more time on the latter, which slows down the former. This problem is a direct consequence of Aston Martin's relatively recent arrival as a top-tier team. While the team has invested hundreds of millions in new facilities, including a new factory and wind tunnel, building a world-class simulation department takes time. It's not just about buying the hardware, it's about developing the complex software and accumulating the years of data required to build accurate models. Teams like Mercedes and Ferrari have been refining their DIL simulators for over a decade, giving them a huge legacy advantage. Newi, despite his design genius, cannot magically create a perfect simulator overnight. He is now faced with the challenge of trying to develop a cutting-edge car with tools that are not yet at the same level as his main competitors. This situation puts immense pressure on Fernando Alonso. His legendary sensitivity and ability to provide precise, detailed feedback will be Aston Martin's most valuable tool in overcoming this simulation deficit. Where the simulator is lacking, Alonso's real-world feedback will have to fill the gaps. He will need to be able to discern the subtle differences between the simulator and the real car and communicate those differences effectively to the engineers. His experience will be crucial in guiding the team's setup decisions and in helping the simulation engineers to correct and improve their models. In essence, Alonso himself becomes a critical part of the simulation loop, a human sensor making up for the deficiencies in the software. This reliance on Alonso is both a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing because there are few drivers in history with his level of experience and sensitivity. He can feel a change in the car's balance that sensors might miss and can articulate the car's behavior with unparalleled precision. However, it's a curse because it places an enormous burden on a single individual and introduces a subjective element into a data-driven process. This creates immense pressure on the trackside engineering team. They will have to perform a difficult balancing act. On one hand, they have the data from their simulations, which they know is flawed. On the other hand, they have the subjective feedback from their star driver. What happens when the two contradict each other? Do they trust their imperfect data or their experienced driver? This can lead to indecision and compromised setup choices. Furthermore, it makes the team highly vulnerable. If Alonso were to miss a session due to illness or a technical problem, the team's primary data gathering tool is lost. They would be left with only their flawed simulations, putting them at a massive disadvantage. It also highlights the challenge for Lance Stroll, who, while experienced, does not have the same depth of technical feedback as his two-time world champion teammate. The team's ability to understand and develop the AMR26 becomes disproportionately dependent on which driver is in the car, a situation that top teams like Mercedes and Ferrari try to avoid at all costs. So, while the AMR26 itself is a work of art, a testament to Newi's undiminished genius, its ultimate success may be limited by the tools at the team's disposal. The car has the potential to be a race winner, But unlocking that potential will be a much greater challenge for Aston Martin than for their more established rivals. Newi's revelation is a sobering dose of reality. It reminds us that in modern Formula One, a brilliant design is not enough. The championship is won not just by the team with the best car, but by the team with the best process, the best tools, and the best ability to turn data into performance. Aston Martin has the car. Now they face a race against time to develop the tools to match it.